Hi, this is Tina Powell, host of In the Suite, where I sit down with top women leaders and some of the biggest names in the financial services and the wealth management industry. Together, we'll discover some of their best secrets and top strategies to grow a great business, build a strong brand, and lead teams in the 21st century. I hope you'll enjoy hearing their amazing personal stories of triumph, trepidation, and transformation in hopes of becoming better leaders ourselves. The time for you to lead is now, and you're in the suite. I want to take you back a few months ago to a cold afternoon on March 5th. It was a Thursday, and neither wind nor rain nor 5-hour drive was going to keep me from meeting Marguerita Cheng, CEO of Blue Ocean Global Wealth, in person to record this episode. And just to be sure, I arrived the night before, and I stayed at the Gaithersburg Marriott, Washingtonian Center, overlooking her office. This was also the time coronavirus was just beginning to emerge as the black swan the financial markets never saw coming. But leave it to Marguerita to handle the anxiety and volatility of this situation with style, grace, and fearlessness. Prior to co-founding her firm, Blue Ocean Global Wealth, Marguerita was a financial advisor at Ameriprise Financial and an analyst and editor at Towa Securities in Tokyo. She's also a past spokesperson for the AARP Financial Freedom Campaign and a regular columnist for Investopedia and Kiplinger. She's also a CFP professional, a chartered retirement planning counselor, a retired income certified professional, and a certified divorce financial analyst. Marguerita also serves as a women's initiative advocate and a subject matter expert for the CFP board and volunteers for the CFP board and Disciplinary and Ethics Commission DEC hearings. She's also a past president of the FPA. She's been a recipient of the Ameriprise Financial Presidential Award and the prestigious Japanese Mumbukeksho Scholarship, as well as one of the most influential financial advisors in the Investopedia Top 100, a woman to watch by Investment News, and a Top 100 minority business enterprise by the Capital Region Minority Supplier Development Council. Wow. Spending a few hours with Marguerita to record this amazing episode in person left me awe-inspired to start running and pushing my limits beyond anything I thought possible. This mother of three proves you can go from being fearful to fearless by seeing the opportunity around you, following good advice, and making the most out of every situation. Guaranteed, you too will be saying, "I've got this," all because of Marguerita. Hello, everyone. I am so excited to be here. Finally, Marguerita, we finally meet in person. This is a thrill and an honor for me.
Likewise.
So
I mean, we connected on Twitter. I've been following you, a huge fan and supporter of all the amazing things you're doing for the financial services and financial advice profession.
I want to thank you so much. I feel the same way. I've long admired your career. Of course, I've seen you all over, and we're going to have a really interesting talk about all of the exciting things that you're doing. But one of the things that I want to start off thanking you for is that I put a call out on Facebook, and you were one of the first women to answer that, and that really meant a lot. That you took your time, and your answers were very detailed. So when it came time to deciding who was going to be on the podcast, I couldn't wait to get in a car, drive almost 5 hours to get here. And you know what, Marguerita? If it would have taken 10 hours, I still would have done it because you were worth it. So I have long followed you. I've been a long admirer of your career, all of your content, but just you as a woman in the financial services industry. I can't wait for this discussion. I wanted to start off with is that you have a very interesting tweet. And you have a very interesting profile. You have, of course, an army of followers. You're at 60,000 followers on Twitter at Blue Ocean Global Wealth, in case anybody wants to know the handle. But here it is. It's that pinned tweet at the top that says, coaching is unlocking a person's potential to maximize their own performance. It is helping them to learn rather than teaching them. I wanted to know, can you give us a little bit insight into this particular pinned tweet and why it means so much to you?
Well, thank you so much for the opportunity to discuss this pinned tweet. If you look below the quote, there's a picture, and that picture was taken at MCM weekend. That's the weekend for the Marine Corps Marathon. And I coached Girls on the Run for 5 seasons. And I also think I understand there's a distinction between financial planner, financial advisor, financial counselor, financial coach. But I think what is really important is when I'm working with clients, it's not necessarily for me explaining how a mutual fund works. It's not to say that it's not important for clients to understand the concept of diversification and professional management. In helping clients and working with them in a financial planning relationship, what I really think is important is helping them learn about what money and how financial planning can help them. And I just really like the quote because just as though I'm coaching elementary, middle school girls run their first long distance run, I think that I'm helping clients stay invested for the long term, and I have to coach them and help them understand that they got this.
Yeah. Talk to us about, right now the date is March 6th, and we are in the middle of a coronavirus frenzy. How are you coaching your clients right now? This is really an important topic. We are living through economic conditions, all of this hysteria that we've never faced before. What does it look like? What does a typical day look like in a coronavirus week for you?
Well, so I'm based here in the DMV, and DMV is not District of Motor Vehicles. DMV is the acronym for DC, Maryland, and Virginia, and the part of Maryland that I live in is actually closer to DC than Baltimore. So how are clients handling this? So first, when I work with clients, I actually do not accept money management only clients. I don't impose hard and fast minimums, but that does not mean that I'm going to work with everybody. You must do financial planning. So financial planning helps me understand how the client thinks, helps me understand their priorities. And the reason why that's important is it's not enough to give advice that's just suitable. To me, it's okay if someone else does it, but that's not good enough for me. Because suitability, that's know your customer. I don't want to just know my customer. I want to understand my client. And if I understand my client, I can be a fiduciary. So what I have to do with coronavirus? So I'm very process-oriented. I'm very sweet, and I like Hello Kitty. But I'm also remember, I'm a mom of 3, so I have to follow a process. There has to be some discipline to what I'm doing. Otherwise, everything would blow up. So financial planning first. Also, this is a shout out to my friends with Riskalyze. Whether you become a client or not, part of the onboarding process is we're doing Riskalyze. If you don't like me, you don't like my process, it's okay. I still love you. You're going to know what your risk number is. So why is that helpful? Disappointment occurs when expectations don't meet outcome. So when people understand their risk number and they understand the risk number of their portfolio, they are less likely to complain. Now, they'll be concerned, but that's a difference between being concerned and complaining. And we talk about tail risk when investment returns are horrible or when they're great. That's tail risk. That's the other 5%. And so the conclusion is, yes, clients are concerned, but they're staying invested for the long term, because if they needed the money in the short term to pay their mortgage or their kids' college tuition bill, I wouldn't have let them have that money in the market. and they wouldn't be my client.
And it sounds like, and what Riskalyze is so good at, is that you have a process internally for understanding how your clients view risk. So in a coronavirus, you've already pretty much identified the heights and the lows of their emotional state during this time. Everything right now is being put to the test. One of the things that I also know about you is that you are an avid runner. So I can imagine that right now that's helping with stress relief. But one of the other things is you're so passionate. You're an incredible person that has such a sense of self and soul, and you're using running to more align with your purpose. Obviously, you're in really good health. I'm looking at Marguerita right now, everybody, and believe me, she is in incredible athletic condition here. But kind of talk to us about how you're using running as a way to pay it forward and within your practice, because I think that it's really unique.
Sure. So what's interesting about me is I have to tell you, I never thought I could run. I didn't start running later in life, but actually why I started running was to keep my youngest daughter safe. My youngest daughter actually now is in high school. And in the 4th grade, I actually didn't force her to sign up for this program. You can sign up for Girls on the Run as early as 3rd grade, but we waited till she's 4th grade. There was a practice 5K. We don't say race, we use the word practice 5K or 5K run. And I practiced with her. And I also was a volunteer. I kept the girls safe because we can't have girls running in the street. So I did that, and I saw the transformation, not just in my daughter, but all the girls. Even when there was the practice 5K before school, I remember her dad said, "That's like a long run. Are you sure you can do that?" Remember, my daughter was 9 years old. She's like, "Dad, if I don't try, I'm never going to find out whether I can do it or not."
Wow.
That was pretty profound for me. And so, because I'm self-employed, I set my own schedule. I was like, you know what? I'll be a substitute to help the other moms and parents. And I did, and then I coached for all of 5th grade and 6th grade, so 5 seasons. And then my daughter made the cross-country team, and I was a little bit crushed because some parents was like, "Oh, your kid is so fast." But it really wasn't about the time.
Yeah.
So some parents came up to me and they said, "Wow, Carolina's really fast." To me, I was never really focused on how fast she was. I enjoyed the time I had with my daughter because we would do some practice 5Ks. And when she made the cross-country team, I kind of felt sad. I'm like, I really missed this time. What can I do to help other girls? As you know, I live very close to D.C. K Street is the center of power of influence. But across the Anacostia River, there are girls who don't have access to safe after-school programs. It'd be hard for me to go there and coach. So I said, you know what? I've never really run more than 5K in my life. I have asthma, but you know what? I want to put some positive energy in this world. I heard that the Marine Corps Marathon was the best marathon. It's the people's marathon, meaning there's no prize money. DC's my hometown. If I got sick, my family's here. Because remember, I have asthma. I'm like, that's it.
Yeah.
I'm running the Marine Corps Marathon. And that was 2018.
That was relatively, 2018 was not too far away. So you've only been running for...
distance for about 2 years.
Wow.
I've had many supporters, and so that was such a positive experience that I decided that I wanted to do the same to help more girls. So I did it for New York City, Chicago, and I think you mentioned that something's coming up September.
Oh yeah, September 27th is the date. That's pretty important.
So September 27th, this is like my first international marathon, and I'm running for Girl Up, which helps girls globally. So when I cross the finish line, I know that I haven't been running that long, but I know that I'm running for a purpose or a cause. And to me, that's what makes it so special because, you know, when you're running, people always ask me if I listen to music. If I'm running outside, I actually don't. I like to look at the scenery.
Yeah.
I feel like I also should be safe.
Yeah.
But if I'm in the Jim, I listen to music. Sometimes I gotta be honest, I can't listen to CNBC. No disrespect to all of you at CNBC. I love you all, but sometimes I can't watch the news because my heart will race, and I have to do a good job maintaining pace.
Oh, I really love that. It was all about your why, the reasons that you were running in the first place, and your daughter running right now. What an unbelievable way for women to come together. I love how they frame the practice rather than the race, because race implies that unless you're coming first, second, or third, that if you haven't placed in first, second, or third, then why are you running? Whereas if it's just a practice that we can all benefit, and we're focused more on the benefits of running and what it is that activity is doing. So I think that's terrific. What a great way to just give back to the community. And are both of your daughters runners? I know we had mentioned the one, Carolina, your other daughter, is she also too in the same program?
So Serena's older, so she's not necessarily a runner. She's more of a dancer and does bar class. The other thing is, I realized that probably a lot of other women are intimidated or scared. So what I did is I took a lot of these concepts that I used to coach girls, and I set up a nonprofit for women to help them connect and feel empowered by running. So basically it's Girls on the Run for women, and it's called 261 Fearless. I set up the DC chapter with my friend Rosie Spraker, and it is in honor of Catherine Switzer. She's the first woman, not necessarily to run the Boston Marathon, but to complete it. And I just think it's important for women, whether it's financial services, financial advice industry, fintech, or just women want to have a safe space. So I still believe it's important to welcome people and have them feel included no matter what their ability.
How do we get information on that? So if somebody listening to the podcast right now wants to make a contribution, even to see what you've set up, I think that it's really interesting how you've set up a 501c3. Of course, you're a financial advisor. We're going to get into the financial part about it. But I think if anybody listening to this podcast right now, female and male, say that this sounds like something really exciting and worthwhile to do, to set up their own 501c3, could you just give us a little bit of direction? How do we get to that site if we want to either make a donation, contribute, and or see what it is that you've set up?
So the name of the site, the name of the parent organization is 261 Fearless, because we all want to be fearless. We go from being fearful to fearless. So 261fearless.org, and you can learn more. I am not good at home improvements, but I'm very good at paperwork, and so I filled out the paperwork. Of course, every state has different rules, and of course I disclosed everything to compliance, just to make sure that, we are compliant, because you certainly don't want to accept donations for people who want to support you only to find out that you're not compliant.
That's a very, very good point, the compliance. You've done the paperwork, you've done the compliance, that's great. Is there a significance with the 261 number? Why the 261? I'm just curious.
So the reason for 261 is Catherine Switzer in 1967 entered the Boston Marathon with her initials KV, Switzer. People didn't realize that she was a female. Back then, women weren't allowed to enter the race. And so 261, the sticker's actually right here on my laptop.
I see it, I'm loving it.
And the reason why is those were her bib numbers. And what happened is Catherine actually ran in the Boston Marathon 50 years later in 2017. And many people kept on saying that this number 261 meant so much to them that they would write it on their body. Some people would tattoo it.
Yeah, sure.
It helped them feel empowered and confident. So we know that what's interesting is Catherine not only is a very accomplished marathon runner in her own right. She's done so much to transform the sport of running and get the marathon in the Olympics and allow women to participate in distance running. And so this is for all of us to honor her legacy and help other women. So for those of you who don't want to set up your own, if you want to be part of the experience, you can come run with us for Marine Corps Marathon Weekend in 2020.
That's so great. Is Catherine Spitzer still alive?
Yes, she's still alive.
Oh my goodness. I mean, you think about how, and the timing of this interview right now. Tomorrow is International Women's Day. This is International Women's Day weekend. And I reflect back as we're sitting here. 50 years ago wasn't that long to think that women weren't allowed to run in marathons. And of course that's just a whole nother train of thought. It's absolutely absurd. Yeah, the 261 Fearless, I'm really excited to look at that. Thank you for that whole story. That's so interesting. I'm so glad that you brought it up, and I'm going to definitely go on the site. And I'm looking right now at your laptop, the 261 Fearless. Have to get some of those stickers out to the women that are, and the men that are listening to this podcast right now. One of the things we just kind of touched upon was I want to talk about the financials. And one of the reasons that I'm here is I've been following your career. And let's face it, Marguerita, your vitae and your certifications are very impressive. I want to review them because there's a lot of initials after your name, and not necessarily everybody's going to know what they mean. You can research each designation, but they are extremely arduous. You've done an incredible amount of study and to gain these credentials. So the first is CFP, that's Certified Financial Planner. The second is CRPC, which is Chartered Retirement Planning Counselor. We have another CDFA, this is alphabet soup here, Certified Divorce Financial Analyst. RIPC, which is Retired Income Certified Professional. In addition to that, you are a Man Busho Scholar. You studied in Tokyo, studied at Georgetown, earned a BA in East Asian Language and a BS in Finance from University of Maryland. And oh, by the way, did we mention that you are one of the top advisors on Investopedia's 100 list? You're columnist for Kiplinger. You're spokesperson for AARP. You're doing incredible work for the CFP board and their women's initiative, their WIN network and advocacy program there. I mean, how is it that you've been able to amass such an incredible vitae? I'm awe-inspired right now. Where does this drive? Where does this come from?
So what a lot of people don't know about me, this is actually my second career. So I became a planner in 99, so that's about 21 years. And I became a planner. When I became a planner, I should say, my son was 6 months old and my eldest daughter was 3. The little one wasn't born yet. And what I would do, see, DC, we have some of the worst traffic in the nation. I did not want to be late to pick up my kids.
Right.
So I'd always have a book with me. And 15 minutes times 5, that's 75 minutes. So I would get to their school early and I would read 15 minutes a day, right? And then as they started school, I wasn't going to turn on the TV and be a distraction. When they had homework, like I had homework, when they went to their activities, yes, I watched karate, I watched ballet, I listened to piano, a violin, but I'd always bring a book with me. And so when they were studying, I was studying. And that's just how I earned all these designations. I love to learn. And so as a CFP professional, we have to satisfy CE requirements. I'm not the type of girl that's just going to check the box and move on. I want to learn something that's going to help my clients. So the first designation I earned was CRPC because retirement is so important. Then it was CFP. Then it was CDFA because divorce is reality, and I wanted to make sure that I learned information that would be helpful to me. Not giving legal advice, but understanding the financial implications of divorce and how best to guide clients. And last but not least, the RICP, Retirement Income Certified Professional, because I think we do a really good job discussing the accumulation phase of retirement, but the distribution phase. And I found that to be extremely helpful. Learned a lot about Social Security. If going into that class, I was like a B- Social Security. After that designation, I don't want to say A+ because there's nuance to Social Security, but I felt more confident. So that's kind of like how I found the time to get the designations and my why. I'm like, if I'm going to tell my kids they need to study and do their homework and not have the TV on, well, I need to walk the talk.
I think that's so inspirational. I have children too, and the fact is that you carved out these little pockets of time, and that you used it not only for them, but you used it for you, because so many women go through life and we put so much into our kids, right? You had just listed all of these amazing activities that your kids were involved in, and we know that those activities are really important because it keeps them doing the right things, focused on the right type of activities to help make them safe, to help make them strong. But I love the way that you've managed your career. The goal of this podcast is to create positive change. Maybe somebody listening right now too says in their life, because we're all battling that time component. Where are those little pockets of time, and what can I do with waking up either an hour earlier, getting to my kids' school, and maybe putting in a course? Now everything is learning is mobile and on the go, and it's virtual. So that's very, very inspiring. I also love what you just said about the distribution phase of wealth. I identify with the divorce for sure. Everything in financial is normally targeted around investments. And right now in a coronavirus world, all the investments, this is going down and this is going up, or this is affected. I love how you're bringing other things into the picture, like the Social Security, the importance of financial decision making. This is a podcast for women who are particularly over the age of 40. I wonder if you could talk about two things. Number one, career. What types of things do you think that women need to do to manage their careers and maybe even their ongoing learning effectively? And number two, talk to us a little bit about wealth. I think that career and wealth are definitely linked to one another. What do we need to do to manage our careers and our wealth more efficiently and more effectively as it relates to Social Security distribution and retirement?
Gosh, I feel like I need 2 more podcasts, right? So there's a lot here, and hopefully I'll do a good job answering everything. So first, I've always felt that I need to do a good job managing my health. It might seem selfish, but it's actually not. Because remember, I mentioned I have a chronic condition. I have asthma, and when I was newer in my career, I had a 3-year-old and a 6-month-old. It's not an excuse, it's just reality. And I worked very hard. And I remember that I didn't see anybody that looked like me, but I didn't really let it bother me because I worked hard. I mean, I know just because there's nobody that looks like me doesn't mean I can't be successful. I know that I have to work hard to prove myself. So what I realized is that I needed to stay healthy to take care of myself, because if I'm not healthy and I get sick or my kids get sick, I'm not going to be productive at work. So first, I would say to everybody, but particularly women, it's important that we take care of ourselves. The reason why is we like to take care of others, but we can't effectively take care of others if we're not well. My eldest daughter told me, "Mom, you cannot pour from an empty cup." And she is wise beyond her years. She told me that when she was in high school. So I would say that. Second, as far as our careers, this is not easy. There's a difference between a job, a profession, and a calling. I've always felt that financial planning was like it's not just a job, it's not just a profession, it's calling. This is emotionally gratifying for me. It's intellectually stimulating, it's financially rewarding, and I know it has positive society on impact. So more women than men, although it's changing, may have a break for other responsibilities, maybe to caregive for their children or for a family, or maybe they might support a family member's business. I think it's so important for people to recognize their skills and talents. Maybe when your children were younger, you were in charge of PTA, or you were in charge of a fundraiser. You learned a lot of skills that are 100% transferable to another profession.
Absolutely.
Particularly wealth management.
Totally agree with that.
Project management.
Exactly.
Problem solving.
Yes.
Organizational management. So I think it's really important that we take the time to recognize that. And I've helped a lot of clients. It's not just women, actually men too. I'll take a laptop and we'll go get coffee and I'll help them build their LinkedIn profile.
Oh, wow.
To focus on their skills, because someone said this so eloquently. Yes, we help clients manage their wealth, but I view my job much more than that. It's relationship management. It's helping them have a more, it's not just work-life balance. That is like a little bit misleading, but it's work-life integration. And
I love the way you just phrased that.
Helping clients, particularly women with these transitions, recognize that, okay, maybe my position was right-sized, but I am not my position. Here's what I did in that position. But you know what? I can take those skills and that experience and I can apply that to a new position. And I can tell you that is an incredible feeling. It is way better than telling a client that you outperformed the S&P 500 3 years in a row. Because I'm telling you, that's a huge differentiator. Taking the time to get to know people, what's important to them, what keeps them up at night, and how you can help them. So I think for women, it's understand that sometimes you do have to put yourself ahead, but that doesn't mean you're selfish.
Right. I love the way that you phrase that. And I heard years ago, that the biggest asset that a woman has, and really anybody, is your ability to make money, your ability to make a wage. And yes, you have to be healthy in order to do that. But I love the work that you're doing, sitting alongside your clients in a coffee shop and talking about a LinkedIn profile. You've managed to amass an incredible personal brand, not only on LinkedIn, but also on Twitter. Are these also, can you talk a little bit about how you've been able to do that so supremely? Was it intentional? Is it just by accident? I mean, clearly you're passionate about what it is that you're doing.
So sure, I just wanted to say, I'm not on all the profiles. My kids are going to be very happy. I don't really do much on Facebook, to be honest. I probably could use a Facebook tutorial. But they're thrilled. They're like, Mom, thank God you don't do sharenting. We love you so much for that.
So you're not on TikTok.
Right, I'm not. But LinkedIn, I've been on LinkedIn early on because it was compliance approved at my previous firm.
Right.
We had to be connected with our compliance officer. So for me, it was a way and how I connected. So for those of you listening, I'm an introvert. I love to read. I might not be the most gregarious person, but if I attended a conference and I heard the speaker, I'd send a customized message. Who doesn't? People aren't going to say, no, I'm not interested. Dear so-and-so, I enjoyed your discussion on X at whatever conference. I look forward to staying in touch. Warmest regards, Rita, or Marguerita, because that's what it says in my thing. No one ever said they weren't going to accept my invitation to connect. And then at events, I connect with people. I also notice, and this is what I tell people, as far as social media is concerned, you have to do what makes you feel comfortable. There is nothing wrong with going through connections and notice that people maybe change jobs and asking for a rollover. That's just not me. So the conclusion I'm saying is you have to make social media work for you. So who I am online is exactly who I am offline.
Right.
So when I was at my previous firm, we weren't allowed to post on Twitter. I was 100% compliant, but I could read and I could do intelligence gathering. And I'm here to tell you, like, Twitter is a wonderful way. There's great communities. I've met amazing people on Twitter. In fact, some of the people that I'm mentoring right now, you can't tell me young people don't read. They just don't want to read stuff that they don't think is relevant to them. So I have been, I think intentional is like a really good word, and I've been focused. I don't need to do 100 things. I just need to do what I'm doing well. That's important to me, right? I just want to do what I can do well. And so I'm not on Facebook. I'm probably not doing that well, but I'm okay with that because I want to do a good job in where I am.
I just love the way that you frame this whole social media, because one of the things that I feel, especially on LinkedIn, is that people are really contaminating LinkedIn with all of this in-mail, and yet you have taken the time to carefully curate a message that was meaningful. You put content and context and intention around your doing it, that it's not to sell somebody like, hey, I noticed you just changed your job, but that, hey, I listened to something and it brought value to me, and thank you very much for doing that. What a great way to build your connections, to build your network, to create some new relationships. I love your advice to do things the way that you need to do them based on who you are. One of the things that as a marketer that I hear so many people using social media for or wanting are for like instant leads and instant sales and instant AUM, and that's just not how. It really is a relationship management tool, and it's a communications tool. Right now is a perfect communications. It's a perfect environment for people to communicate about what's happening with the virus, to make sure that other people are okay, to reach out to people. So I appreciate the words that you just had for LinkedIn and Twitter. So thank you very much for pointing that out.
I also wanted to give another tip for Twitter. So I do a lot with the media, and I think that's also, it's nothing that I ever take for granted. I don't say yes to every media interview if I don't feel like it's a good fit, but I'm not difficult about this. So I'll give you an example. Someone asked me to say something about cryptocurrency. It didn't mean I didn't believe in crypto. I just didn't believe I was the right person for the story. So I immediately responded. I said, thank you so much for thinking me. I don't think that I'm the right person for this story, but I can help you find somebody. What does that have to do with Twitter? That reporter journalist remembers that I was responsive, attentive to their needs. I made every effort to get someone for them. They will come back. They may feature me in a story, and what I do is I share the story and I look up the Twitter handles for every other person in that story and I at them.
Wow.
And that's how you build a following, because it isn't just about me. Somebody put a lot of work into that story and other people were featured. And this is what I call, you have to share the social media love. It's not just about you. It's about promoting the amazing work that many people are doing in our community.
Yeah, I love what you just said. And one of the things that Twitter is really good about is a reporter's not going to necessarily know your email address anymore. And so there was like a workaround LinkedIn that if somebody wanted to get your email, they can. And now with all privacy laws and whatnot, so when a reporter reaches out to you, they're going to do it through Twitter because they can message you on Twitter if they're following you and you're following them, rather than the reporter have to say, what's the email? Where's the firm? I mean, reporters don't have time to do that, so they're on a strict deadline. I also like how you talk about bringing everybody into the feed, that this is about a momentum for good here in the industry, to share all of the news, all of the reports, all of the thought leadership with everybody, because there's plenty to go around. Can you share with us or give us specific strategies how both male and females, how can people make a difference in the industry? where do you see the opportunities for people to really have a positive, meaningful impact in financial services, specifically for women?
Sure. So I think the most important thing is to hire for potential, not focus on what people have done, but focus on who they are, focus on their qualities. I mean, I remember my friend came up to me and he said, my business is growing and expanding. Do you have any suggestions for me? I said, you know what? I do. But I want to ask you some questions first before I, give you the answer. Not because I'm withholding information. I want to make sure that my advice to you is appropriate for what you're looking for. And as it turns out, he needed somebody 20 to 25 hours a week. I said, based on what you're telling me, I actually think a good place to look, because he had a preschooler, would be your son's preschool. These are people who know you. You want someone part-time. I think that if you offer the hours 9:30 to 2:30, 5 hours a day, you'll be able to get exactly what you need. You want someone who's focused, but you don't want to commit to full-time. How about a mom that wants to transition back into the workforce? Or how about a career changer? And he was very happy with that. So the call to action is hire for potential.
Potential, I love that word.
If you like someone's qualities, so in a previous life, anybody who knows me knows I like coffee, right? I love independent coffee shops. I would see how people would make my coffee, because my thought process is, if this person is taking the time and making my drink with warmth and care, they probably really care and have a good work ethic of what they do. And I personally hired a lot of people that made my coffee for me. I mean, you'll observe people. So I would say hire for potential. The other thing I would say is get involved in the membership and trade associations. I am where I am because of 2 mentors, and they do happen to be older white men. There was nothing strange about our relationship. My fear is that sometimes people may not feel comfortable mentoring in this environment. One of my mentors told me, Rita, there's 3 things you need to know how to do. The first thing you need to know how to do is you need to know how to get clients. That is very important. I don't care how smart you are. No one cares about standard deviation. And I'm like, okay.
Okay, so number 1, get clients.
Get clients.
Love those.
Number 1. Number 2 is once the clients walk through this door, you need to know what to do with them. So it's not good enough to know how to talk to people. You need to know how to get them in the door and know what to do with them when they're here.
And that's the process part of Rita.
Right. So he kind of combined 1 and 2, but now I just gave you 1 and 2. Then he told me you need to be involved in your profession, right? And so that's when I joined the Financial Planning Association in 2003. And then he said, you need to read. Now I know you like to read, Rita, but you need to read what your clients are reading. Whether you agree with it or not, you need to know what's formulating their opinions.
Interesting.
And so that's what he told me. And I did what he said. And then he said, if you're so inclined, you should write and you should contribute. Make sure you do so in a compliant manner. And I did. And I followed his advice. So that's the first mentor. The second mentor, I was involved in the Financial Planning Association, and I helped out on some committees. And people saw that I was really good at the committee work. And then they asked me to join the board, and they asked me to lead the organization. And I felt that I might have been a little bit over my head, because at this time I really hadn't had the CFP marks that long. But my second mentor told me, you'll be fine. You are the leader that we need at this time. And so if we were to use language that would resonate with people, you got this. Don't worry about what you think a leader looks like or should be. You have the skills that we need, and you're the type of leader that we need. So we said don't hire for potential, but also sometimes when you see that potential in someone, communicate it. And this is important whether you are talking to a woman, whether you're talking to somebody who's from the LGBTQ, someone returning to the workforce, military, African American, Black, Caribbean American, Latino, Hispanic. This is true for people who may be underrepresented in our profession. They see the world from a different lens and have different experiences, and that's okay. They're different because those differences and their different experiences can help us better serve our clients and realize better outcomes.
Like, you just took my breath away with that. That was so deep and so meaningful. I think there's potential in every single person. There's a light in everyone, and there's a point of view in everyone, and we just get better from leaning into each other and hearing different viewpoints, and all of us coming together, and just the collective body of what we can do together.
And we can all help somebody. It doesn't mean you have to take a lot of time out of your day.
Yeah, I love it too. Did these mentors, one last question about the mentorship, because this comes up a lot. People searching for mentors, advocates, sponsors. There's all kinds of, and there's nuances, I realize, for each of those segments there. But were these formal mentor relationships, or did they just happen when you became part of the FPA and the CFP organization? Did you have to seek them out, or did they seek you?
So these relationships kind of evolved. So this is exactly how it happened. So I graduated from University of Maryland. I'm a proud Terp. And in my office, there was another proud Terp. That's not really so much of a surprise here. But I was a member of a co-ed service fraternity when I was on campus. And this advisor was too. So we had the connection from University of Maryland. I always teased him. I was like, yeah, when you were on campus, it was all male. But by the time I got to campus, it was co-ed. So we had that connection. It wasn't so formal, but he knew, like, he took an interest in me, but not in a weird way, because I was prepared. I was a finance major. He was an accounting major. That there was some commonality there, and it did evolve. And then when I did leave my former firm, he was sad, but he wasn't mad. I think he missed me, but he was proud of me because I basically implemented all the advice he told me.
And you remembered it too.
And I remember.
And you're able to articulate it years later again and really pass it on and pay it forward.
Absolutely. And then and I guess maybe I used the word mentor. They mentored me, but they're more like supporters.
Right.
The other thing that's interesting about that mentor from my school is we also had the opportunity to work together. We didn't share cases, but what I mean is he supported the business school a lot. And I was what was called a young alum, meaning at least only 10 years out, and he was the more established alum. So he had more robust connections that he felt comfortable sharing. And then I would coordinate events for our mentor cluster. So he and I had the opportunity to work together outside of work. We didn't share business, commingle business, so he could see my true character. This is volunteer work that we're working on that.
I love this story right now. It's so incredibly powerful.
It's a really nice
testament.
story.
It's a great story. Find a mutual connection, whether or not that's through your university or some other organization. And then in the same way that when we were both at the PTA, what we all had in common was our passionate, our wanting to create a place of meaning, of purpose, so that you could truly express who you are. That's a great story. We forget about those types of opportunities that, maybe somebody changing their life is just getting back involved in their alma mater and then heading up one of the committees there, and again, inviting those kinds of connections into their life.
I mean, I think that story is so amazing because when we had our signature event that year, I was 9 months pregnant with my third kid, and we won Mentor Cluster of the Year together. And so it was very, very special. So it was a beautiful ending to this story. And then the second mentor was within the Financial Planning Association. So he actually invited me to serve on his board. I only had the CFP marks for maybe 3 years. That's I had just pretty much satisfied the experience requirement. And I was worried that I wasn't like experienced enough. And I said, so what is the criteria? He's like, you just have to recruit one more member than last year. And I was like, well, that seems kind of low. He's like, well, you'll make it hard for the next person. And I said, well, I'll do membership for as long as you need me to for my local chapter. And I did a really good job at it. And he won an award. And then someone said to me, hey, Rita, do you see yourself as being president? And I was like, what do you mean? I didn't think I was presidential. I just wanted to be the best job being membership.
Yes.
I called myself membership. I just wanted to do the best job I could membership. I wasn't necessarily focused on the next job, not because I didn't believe. I just thought that this is what they needed me to do, and this is what I was going to do. And then other people like, well, if that's what you want to do, just know that you have supporters, and we think you're a really good leader. And I was like, wow, this is like super cool. People were able to see, yes, I was good at bringing people together. I was getting results, and we were having fun. I'm like, okay, I'm ready for the next challenge. And so when there was a little bit of pushback, when other people said, hey, I don't feel like you have enough backbone, you're not aggressive enough, I actually went to the guy who invited me to the board. I said, listen, I'm like busy. I have 3 kids. I'm running a business. I don't need to be president if people don't think I'm qualified. Like, I'm not doing it for the titles. I just care.
Exactly.
He's like, no, you're the right leader we need at this time. And so I think that these messages are really important, that you deserve to be in that room. I think we need to invite more people into the room.
Right.
But once we invite them into the room, just affirm that not only do they deserve to be in the room, but we like having them in the room. Deserve almost makes it seem like you're entitled, but I like having you in this room.
Right.
Like, I want you in this room, and I need you to be in this room, because I like it when you're in this room.
And I think that the way that we can reinforce that is to say that to other people too. Just to remind that person, hey, we're so glad you're here. This is exactly what we need at this time. I keep on focusing on those 3 words that he said. You, Marguerita, are the right leader at this time. And that was very clear. And we have to stop putting ourselves down. We've got to quiet that voice in our head. And we've just got to go with it. But at the same time, our best support to each other, our best support to ourselves, is to first practice it to each other, but really truly mean it. My last question, I like to end the podcast with this particular question, because I too have struggled with moments of insecurity, not being confident, doubting myself. And I have a physical object that I carry around with me to give me that inner strength. And a lot of the women that I talk to also do have trinkets, whatever you want to call them, things that they carry around to give them extra strength, whether or not that they're physically attached to their body. Do you have something of significance in your life that's physical, that embodies the principles and your passion and your purpose and gives you that inner strength?
I do. I love the question. They are my mantra bands. And this is a shout out to Carrie Carbonaro. Carrie gave me a mantra band. She believed she could, so she did.
Oh, wow.
These are so beautiful because there's inspirational messages. And there's one here that also says, fearless. And I do try to be, of course, there's times when I am fearful.
Yeah.
But I want to help people go from fearful. So fearful about asking for help. Fearful about making a mistake investing. Fearful that I might be too slow when I run the marathon, to being fearless. So thank you, Carrie. She gave me this.
I know, Carrie Carbonaro.
And I wear it every day.
Wow. They're beautiful, everyone. I'm looking at these bracelets right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Are they all? So
it's 8 because Asians we like lucky number 8.
8. Yes, of course. Okay.
8.
Wow. And these are incredible. One of the things that I hope to do is to create a Pinterest board of all of these lucky things. These are absolutely beautiful. I've never seen them. Mantra bands.
So I'm going to send you one, and I send fearless ones. So even if you're not a jewelry person,
my God.
I tell people, you put it by your phone at your desk. When you're having a bad day, you're like, I got this. I'm fearless.
These are quite beautiful. Marguerita, wow. Thank you so much for your contribution to women, to girls, to the industry, to the podcast today, to everybody listening. You are truly, truly an inspiration. I thank you so much for making the time and the sacrifice today. It means so, so much. And just continue to run hard, run strong. We'll be supporting you and cheering you on. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, and thank you everyone for listening.
You're listening to In the Suite, a podcast that shares amazing stories of women in business in the financial services and the wealth management industry. This podcast is proudly sponsored by C-Suite Social Media, a digital marketing and social media consultancy for C-Suite leaders in finance and technology. You can visit us at csuitesocialmedia.com to learn more and for show notes from today's broadcast. Also, if you would like to share the name of a successful woman in business we should interview on a future podcast, please send it to me at tina@csuitesocialmedia.com. And thank you so much for listening. I hope that you enjoyed this episode with the inspiring Marguerita Cheng as much as we did.